done well against the Thunderbolts over the last decade plus, but chance to turn that around. First pitch is slapped foul to the right, out of play by Brent Spillane. He's the big power threat in this lineup. 9 home runs to lead the squad, hitting .250. 9 home runs, but just 26 runs batted in. Not a very powerful group. Of course, Ozinga Field is a tough ballpark to hit home runs, but not a very powerful group, and even the guys with a lot of home runs, not a ton of runs batted in. Throw to first, and Martina dives back in.
Yeah, this has been an offense for Windy City that has really lagged behind the curve. Brent Spillane has missed about a dozen games this year, and it took pretty much the first 2 months of the season for a couple of these bats to get going. Paul Kumalos especially. Junior Martino was struggling for a while. He's at first right now.
0-1, and Spillane takes a strike outside corner.
Now that works to the Y'all's advantage today. They like Ryan Watson and what he's shown the last couple starts. 5 innings of 3-run ball against Schaumburg in his last appearance, and then the 6th inning kind of fell apart on him. But for this rookie in start number 4, the Y'alls need some innings today with a thinner bullpen, according to Chad Rhodes.
0-2. Off to the right, out of play. We'll do it again. Now, Spillane has some Cincinnati roots, taken in the 3rd round back in 2018 by the Reds. Spent a few years in their system. Originally drafted out of high school by the Pirates, but went to Illinois, and that was a good decision. 0-2 on the ground towards second base. Garcia fields it, bobbles, flips to second. That's one. Throw to first, and that's late. So if Garcia fielded that cleanly, he would have had himself a double play. Instead, just 1 out at second base on the force there. Martina retired on the fielder's choice, 4-6, but now Tristan Garcia hunched over near second base. He's in some pain. They got that one right around his belt buckle. I have to wonder if it caught him in an uncomfortable area, but he's in some pain. Hands on his knees out near second base. A nice job there by Garcia just to get 1 out on that play. But he has had his defensive woes at times this season on that bobble. Nice to get 1, but could have been a double play. Of course, all the attention turning to the injury at this point. Chad Rhodes and Tanner Harned, manager and trainer, out to check on him. You mentioned the bullpen, Carter, a bit short, but the Y'all's a bit short on infield options as well. Craig Massey still out, nursing a hamstring injury. Harrison DeNicola was in the starting lineup tonight, but he was scratched after batting practice. So we could talk about the bullpen, but Garcia, more likely than not, has to stay in this game, and he will. But the Y'alls don't have many bench options either.
Yeah, if DeNicola was in the fold, you'd have far more ability and more options to shift guys around. He can play first, second, and the outfield. But before the game, Chad Rhodes said he watched him out in batting practice, and his lateral movement just was not where it needed to be to play tonight. I got the day off, and like you said, Garcia may be sore, but the hand forced. I'll have to keep him out there.
2 outs and a runner on in the top of the 1st inning, and Isaacson bats now. First pitch, and the runner goes. Called a strike inside corner. Throw to second. High throw. Johnson's tag is late. And Spillane, one of the speedier guys on the team, takes second base with his 15th of the year. So he's into scoring position with 2 outs in the 1st inning. Isaacson, one of the better bats in these spots, hitting .287 this year and .323 with runners in scoring position. Down in the count, 0-1. Watson fires. That's in the dirt. Good stop from the catcher, Wimmers. And just to kind of show you where the Y'alls are at defensively right now with some injuries, Zade Richardson is playing first base today. Nick Wimmers doing the catching, so both catchers are in the lineup, but Richardson playing first base. He was getting some extra work at the first base bag before batting practice today. Jeremiah Burks, the lone healthy man on the bench right now. 1-1. High chopper towards second. Garcia has himself another chance. He fields this cleanly and throws out Isaacson at first base for a scoreless top of the 1st inning for Ryan Watson. A couple guys reach base, but they do not come around. Spillane left at second. And the Y'alls come up for the first time tonight here on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. Scoreless top of the first inning for Ryan Watson and the Florence Y'alls defense. And now the Y'alls bats come up for the first time tonight, facing Taylor Sugg. And here's the lineup for the Y'alls. Brennan Price, he's been leading it off. He stays there today, the DH. Brian Fuentes bats second and plays third. Ray Zuberer in center batting third. Zade Richardson, the first baseman, batting cleanup. Hank Zeisler is the right fielder batting fifth. Ed Johnson, the shortstop, bats sixth. Nick Wimmers, the catcher, bats seventh. Tristan Garcia at second, bats eighth. Lane Hoover in left rounds out the order. Taylor Sugg, wind up and the pitch. And Price takes a strike on the outside corner. What a season Sugg has had so far, including pitching very well against the Florence Y'alls this year. 0-1. Misses outside. Sugg primarily a bullpen arm leading up to this season. River City, Lake Erie, and Gateway. But he has established himself in the rotation. 1-1, called the strike to Price at the knees, and it is 1-2. Price, the reigning Frontier League Player of the Week, batting .320 with 18 home runs. He struggled on the road trip. 1-2. He takes just off the plate.
Now, this is a guy the Y'alls have really struggled with this year. Sugg, 2 starts at Windy City, a combined 14 innings, 3 earned runs allowed. He was basically untouchable in 2 starts.
2-2. Price chases a fastball up and away. That's strike 3. And Sugg just picks up right where he left off on the mound against the Y'alls. And one of those, Carter, a career high 8 innings. That was his first start back on May 26th. 8 innings of 1-run baseball. Followed that up with 6 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts against the Y'alls at the end of June. And this is against a guy that the Y'alls had really struggled with. Or, excuse me, the Y'alls had beaten up early in his career. First pitch runs inside to Fuentes. Now, Taylor Sugg at one point last season when he was pitching for Gateway allowed 11 earned runs against the Y'alls. 1-0. Fastball called the strike. Had another outing in which he allowed 6 earned runs. Another outing in which he allowed 5 runs. 1-1. Breaking ball, flied to right towards the line. Kumalos ranging over, loses his cap, and he makes the catch and gets upended by the sidewall. We've seen that a number of times. Opposing right fielders not used to that. Kumalos holds on despite going head over heels, and he is out number 2.
And sometimes just a change of scenery or a different set of eyes from a coaching staff can help a guy adjust. Now, Sugg a year ago with Gateway was primarily a reliever and not a very good one. ERA of 6 flat. A couple starts as well, but not very effective either way.
First pitch to Zuberer. Called the strike outside corner.
And now he's working in Windy City, not only in a pitcher's park most of his starts, but he's got a former major leaguer as a pitching coach.
0-1. Call the strike inside half, and it is 0-2. Yeah, this is a very MLB-oriented staff. Richie Sexton, the field manager. Jarrett Wright, the pitching coach. A couple of guys that have been there and done that. 0-2 to Zuberer, and it's up and away. 297 hitter, 9 home runs, 48 batted in. And Zuberer played well on that road trip out to Evansville, especially his defense. A couple of diving plays in center. 1-2, outside. Just to tie a bow on Taylor Sugg and his career against the Y'alls. Coming into this season, he had an ERA of nearly 16 against Florence. Sub-2 this year. 2-2 and lined out on a couple of hops to second base. Boone fields it and throws out Zuberer at first base to end the first inning. Neither team scores, and it is a scoreless first inning. Going to the second on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. Micah Yonamine leads off the top of the second inning for Windy City. The Yalls went down 1-2-3 in the bottom of the first inning against Taylor Sugg, their kryptonite this year. And Yokamine leads off the second for Windy City. 273 hitter, 8 home runs, 30 batted in. Facing Ryan Watson, who worked around some traffic in the first inning. Righty-righty matchup here. Watson a big deep breath, and he fires home. And it's immediately shot to left, a base hit. Right off the end of the bat, but good muscle from Yonamine to power that to left. Second hit of the day for Windy City. Now leadoff man on the first pitch of the inning, and that brings in Jake Boone. Wiggling the bat above his right shoulder, first pitch. Up and in, ball one. Carter, I'm sure you've talked about this the first couple of times that Windy City has faced the Yalls, but what a lineage this guy has. A lot of MLB experience in his family. Maybe most notably his uncle Aaron, current manager of the New York Yankees. 1-0. Broken back, ground ball weakly to third. Fuentes fields that, second for one, throw to first, and Boone runs too well. They could not double him up, so another fielder's choice for the Yalls. First out in the second inning, and Boone reaches it first. The Yalls getting it out on the bases. Yonamine retired. Boone at first with one out now, no score. That brings in Dan Robinson. This guy's been seeing the ball very well as of late for Windy City. He calls time before the pitch is thrown. Robinson, as of late, hitting .348 over the last month's worth of games. Up to .265 with the average now. First pitch. And he shoots it on the first pitch out to center on a line. Zuberer glides to his left and makes the grab. Boy, a lot of early count swinging. Boone swung on the second pitch. Yonamine and Robinson swing at the first pitch. And this has the making to be a very quick inning for Watson if he can get weight here.
Now, this is a Windy City team that does swing aggressively at times to its disadvantage. Now, this is a club that doesn't score a lot of runs, doesn't hit for a lot of power. Occasionally, they do get antsy swinging early in counts. A lot of ground balls, a lot of unproductive outs in those games up at Windy City.
First pitch, and Waite gets a foul ball, or did it hit him? It certainly sounded like a foul ball off the bat, but it might have gotten that elbow protector instead, and that caused the loud ricochet. But that one ran up and in. At first, I thought it hit the bat, the knob of the bat, but home plate umpire Jim Shalley says that was the elbow guard, and it's a hit by pitch.
Yeah, way too loud a noise for it to have hit his body. Did get that protector on the elbow, and a good thing, otherwise Waite would still be probably writhing around, holding that funny bone and hit him right there.
I mean, if that sounded that bad hitting the elbow guard, imagine what it would have done if it hit the elbows flush. Goodness. And the way it ricocheted as well, that's why I thought it hit the bat, but hit off the elbow protector, and now Viola has a chance to do damage. 2 on and 2 out in the second. Looking for the game's first run. First pitch. And it's flied out towards left center. Both outfielders battle the sun. Zuberer finds it, using the glove to his advantage, and he makes the catch in left center. Another example right there of swinging early in counts, and it does not go the Thunderbolts' way. Fly out to center for Viola, and the Thunderbolts leave 2 on in the second inning. Still no score at Thomas More Stadium on the Florence Yalls Baseball Network. Well, that was a quick top of the second inning. A lot of first pitch and early count swinging for the Thunderbolts, who leave 2 on. And no score after an inning and a half in Florence. Here with Carter Bainbridge, I'm Anthony Mazzini. Back at home, just briefly, 3 games this weekend against the Thunderbolts before going back on the road to Gateway next week. And then a 6-game homestand again, the final extended homestand of the season for the Yalls before alternating 3 on the road, 3 at home to wrap up the 2023 season, which is now in the 20s for games remaining. Tonight, game number 70 for the Yalls, game number 69 for Windy City. Richardson takes the first pitch on the inside corner, strike 1, a breaking ball from Sugg, who did his job as well in that first inning, 3 up and 3 down, including a strikeout. 0-1 from Sugg, and he yanks a fastball down and away. What a road trip Richardson had. A couple of extra base hits, including a home run. He walked 6 times and still hit .333. Drove in 5 runs. 1-1. That's down and away. Richardson avoided a scare. At one point he was hit in the head with a pitch right off the helmet, but it did not affect him. As a matter of fact, he got up and started doing push-ups after getting hit in the head, just to prove that he was okay. 2-1. And a high chopper over to third, a stumble at third, and it gets by Martina. Into left field, a base hit. Richardson wide turnaround first, but he holds up there. On that turf, Martina stumbled trying to go to that ground ball and get the big hop. And by the time he recovered, it was by him. And we'll see how that one gets scored for Zaid. They give him a hit. That stumble for Martina prevented the clean field. And a hit for Richardson, the first of the night for the Yalls.
If you talk to these players, and especially hitting coordinator Mike Morris, who used to play on this field, they will tell you that there are some slick areas on this turf, and I think Martina just found one over at third base.
First pitch to Zeisler, and he takes a strike. Well, he'll certainly identify that and keep that in the memory bank. He plays a little bit more in now. He'd be expecting a bunt from Zeisler, but I don't think he'd be bunting. He's hitting .364. 2 doubles this year. 0-1. He watches it outside. What did you think when Richardson got up and started doing push-ups? What was running through your mind when you saw that?
I was a little worried for him at first, but I thought it was a funny gesture to the crowd. Break a little bit of the tension. Pretty on brand for Zaid.
1-1. Up and away. Even the umpire got a little smirk out of it.
Yeah, he had a very good series.
Yeah.
The Yalls, for all intents and purposes, they really outplayed Evansville for practically the whole series. You know, the Otters, save for that one bad inning in game 1, the Yalls could have swept.
2-1, runs outside. It's 3-1 on Zeisler.
Richardson was a big part of that. Came up with a clutch 2-out double in the 10th of game 2 with 2 outs. Always running deep counts. He gave that pitching staff a lot of grief.
Those were close games against the Otters this week. 2 one-run games, 1 3-run game. 3-1. That's right down the middle. And Zeisler has run the count full. And even that 3-run margin of victory game in the middle game of that series, that went to extra innings. That didn't get decided and really extended of a lead until later in the game. 3-2 from Sugg, and Zeisler sends it up the middle on a line, knocked down by Boone at second base, flipped to second for 1, and that's all they get. On a line, a 1-hopper up the middle, a nice diving stop by Boone to knock it down, and a flip to Viola to second base to retire Richardson for the force out. And 1 gone in the second inning. A lot of fielders' choices so far in this game, neither team able to cleanly turn 2. Now Zeisler trades places with Richardson at first base, 1 gone in the second, and Ed Johnson the batter. First pitch, and he grounds it to third, up the line. Martina no trouble with this, second for 1, throw to first, and that is the double play. Each team had a couple of chances, and the Thunderbolts finally turn 1. Johnson on the first pitch, ground ball to third, and a nice turn. Martina, Boone, and Yonamine combined for it, and that gets Sugg out of the second inning. Still no score on the Florence Yalls Baseball Network.
Carter Bainbridge alongside Anthony Mazzini here on the Florence Y'all's Baseball Network. We're just starting the third inning here at Thomas More Stadium as the Y'alls take on the Windy City Thunderbolts in this weekend series. Ryan Watson, the rookie right-hander, is on the mound warming up for his third inning of work. And just like the Evansville series, the past 3 games that saw pitching dominate from start to finish, at least through the first 2 innings, pitching has controlled this game so far. No score between these two. 1 hit for the Y'alls, 2 for the Bolts, and that's been it. Both starters have been sharp to start. As Watson looks in at the top of the Windy City order, Paul Kumalos, the right fielder, represents that. The left-handed batter to start the third inning. Garcia playing a little deeper at second, and on the first pitch, Kumalos takes a strike. It's 0-1. Swing and a miss there. It's 0-2 with nobody on and nobody out. Kumalos has seen his numbers rise over the last couple parts of this season. Still the count 0-2. Kumalos comes back in the box after a timeout. First series of the year, he was off to a very slow start when these teams first met, and he fouls the 0-2 away the opposite way. 93-mile-an-hour fastball from Watson. And then when the Y'alls played the Bolts about a month ago, Kumalos had really started to heat up. Last 10 games, he was hitting over 400. 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss here. He begins this series 0-2. So for Kumalos, who had seen his batting average climb about 100 points the last time these two teams had met, up even further to start the day at 303, but hitless to start this game. And Junior Martina, who singled back in the first, is up with 1 out.
Kumalos, a good hitter, led the Sunshine State Conference at St. Leo in hitting a few years ago, so it was only a matter of time.
Breaking ball inside to Junior Martina, the number 2 hitter in this lineup. Ryan Watson, rookie starter for the Y'alls, featuring a fastball, a cutter, a changeup, and a slider. And Martina fouls that fastball off, back to the screen. 94 miles an hour. With 1 out of the inning and nobody aboard. Martina hitting .258 on the year, 5 homers, 40 driven in. Watson's delivery is a tapper in front of the plate, foul ball. As Wimmers picks it up. But the count's still 1-2 on Martina. Well, the Thunderbolts 30-38. And their offense has been a culprit in some of those losses. 3 runs or fewer scored 32 times this season coming into this game for a team that has played 68 games so far. Nearly half your contests putting up 3 or fewer. Not a winning recipe as Watson deals the 1-2 and it's lifted down the right field line. Twisting foul up onto the berm. And like you said earlier, these numbers for some of these hitters, they're just not inflated the way we've seen from some other teams. Low RBI totals, low home run totals. And the Bolts have a left fielder starting today with no home runs in the last month of the season. That's the way things have gone for them. As the 1-2 is fouled and Martinez stays alive in this at bat.
What stands out to me more, you know, the no home runs, obviously that's surprising, but we also saw that from Chase Dawson until last week. The All-Star for Schaumburg, he had his first home run here last week as well. It's the high home run totals and the low run batted in totals.
That pitch down low, 2-2 to Martina. He's putting up a lengthy at bat here with 1 out in the third inning.
You know, Spillane with 9 home runs, but only 26 batted in. 8 home runs and 30 batted in for Yona Mine. That's what stands out to me a little bit more. Middle of the order guys with low RBI totals.
2-2 is popped up right side. Well out of play. About 10 rows deep on the right side. Well, some home runs for the Bolts. They are last in the league in that category, but when they get them, they have seemed to be a lot of solo shots. Not many guys on. Low RBI totals for this offense that has been anemic for a lot of the season. Watson navigating through it. The Y'alls need a lengthy start out of this rookie today. 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball up, and it's 3-2.
And the latest news for the Y'alls, talking about the bullpen, Ernesto Huizar, unfortunate for him, goes back on the IL. They sign Nick Erst today. Local kid.
Payoff pitch. Bounce to third. Fuentes grabs it, and a long throw across is on the money for out number 2.
Nice play there by Fuentes. We've seen him make a lot more difficult plays than that, but nice play down the line. Had a long throw to get it there. That might be one of the longer throws we've seen Fuentes make this year, and with perfect accuracy for the second out.
Got it behind the bag by the chalk. And now Brent Spillane, the center fielder, is at the plate. 0 for 1 today. Grounded into a fielder's choice. Later stole a base, and he chops the first pitch over the mound into center field. A base hit past the dive of Garcia from second. And Spillane has his first knock of this series. Struggling hitter as of late, but maybe that gets him started for this weekend set.
Just past the outstretched glove of Garcia. I'm not sure even if he came up with that on the dive, if he would get Spillane with his speed, but valiant effort nonetheless.
Spillane at first can steal a bag. He's 15 for 16 on the season, and Peyton Isaacson takes a strike. 0-1 with 2 down in the top of the third. No score between the Y'alls and the Thunderbolts. One and only time these two teams meet in the regular season in this ballpark. On the 0-1, the runner goes. Spillane takes off on a low pitch, and Wimmers' throw is off the mark. It pulled Johnson, the shortstop, to the second base side. And Spillane has 2 steals and as many tries today. He's now 16 for 17 on the season.
Now the Thunderbolts taking a page out of Schomburg's playbook, running a lot, especially with Spillane. They don't have a ton of guys, certainly not as many as the Boomers, but that is the Y'alls' weakness, controlling that running game.
Isaacson, a good lefty bat at the plate. He cuts and misses for a second strike. It's 1-2. Well, even the teams the Y'alls have faced this year that are down near the bottom of the league in steals, like the Thunderbolts, who are third to last in that category, they have run fairly well against the Y'alls staff in defense that is last in the league in stolen bases allowed. The 1-2. Outside, a little too far for Jim Shalley, calling balls and strikes, and it's 2-2. So in that instance, the slow running game's beating the ineffective defense. Schomburg very good at stealing, and they took good advantage of that in the home series last week. On the Thunderbolts so far, 2 for 2, and not even 3 full innings of offense. 2-2 pitch, line foul on the ground left side. And Isaacson, a 287 hitter with 27 RBI, still stands at the plate.
Yeah, Schomburg, they had about 6 guys that could get on and go. The Thunderbolts really more of 2 guys. Spillane at second now after his stolen base, and Dan Robinson, really that other guy in the starting lineup. Boone can run a little bit, but he hasn't been successful as much this year. But those are the 3 guys really in the lineup that you have to watch out for. So the Boomers kind of in a class of their own in that respect, but one of those 3 guys gets on, they are a threat to go, and all it takes is 1 or 2 of them to get on and steal a base, and just like we saw against Schomburg, it can really disrupt an entire inning.
2-2 pitch. Line foul right side again, and Isaacson battling with 2 strikes and 2 outs here in the top of the third inning. Well, Ryan Watson in that Schomburg start pitched well through 5, then gave up a couple runs in the 6th to end his outing on a bad note. The Boomers stole 2 bases on him in that inning. 2-2 is down low, 3-2. So a rookie pitcher on the mound against an effective offense that runs a ton. You knew that was coming eventually, and Watson did leave that game on the bad end of that start.
We saw it for Carter Spivey as well. Was cruising in the middle innings. He allowed a couple guys in the 6th, and the wheels fell off when they started running.
Payoff pitch to Isaacson is low. So the steals disrupting the rhythm for Watson in this inning. 1 for Spillane, and a walk to the very next hitter, Isaacson, with a very drawn-out at bat. Good plate appearance for the Windy City DH, and that brings Micah Yonamine to the plate with 2 down and 2 on.
which, by the way, mentioning Carter Spivey, pitched an absolute gem yesterday, helping to secure that series win. But, yeah, that running game against Schaumburg, hate to look back, you want to look in the future and the present, but that running game for Schaumburg really hurt the Yalls, and maybe in this inning hurting the Yalls again for Windy City.
First pitch strike inside corner on Yonamine. Count 0-1 with runners at first and second. Yonamine's had a pretty good season against the Yalls pitching staff. 3 hits in the first series and then a very good couple of games the second time they met. He lines this one right to short, and Ed Johnson there to make the catch to end the inning. 0-0 still through 2.5 here in Florence as the Bolts strand 2. Bottom third of the Yalls order due up when we return here in Florence. We are scoreless through 2.5 here at the Florence Yalls Baseball Network. Bottom of the third coming right up with Nick Wimmers, the catcher, starting things for the Yalls against Windy City starter Taylor Sugg. First pitch of the inning is up and away from the switch hitting Wimmers, batting left-handed. The Yalls with only 1 hit so far, and Wimmers the 7th hitter in the lineup, starting things here in inning number 3. On the 1-0, he grounds a ball on a hop to third base. Martina, low pickup, and that's out number 1 in the Yalls' 3rd time to hit.
It's just me, or have we not seen like a 5-pitch at bat? It's either been 1 or 2 pitches or 8 or 9 pitches. It's been one end of the spectrum. That's another quick at bat there. It's either been a long at bat or a very short at bat. I'm not sure what to make of it.
Wimmers early in the count, swinging, second pitch out, and now Tristan Garcia at the plate. Second baseman hitting 8 takes a strike at the knees, and it's 0-1. Third baseman Martina a little over, deeper into the hole, away from the bag, and the 0-1 line down the line, and it's foul. Garcia trying to shoot it that way, but it's 0-2. Well, the Bolts and the Yalls working quickly on offense, and not in a good way. Neither team has mounted really anything so far. Early swings, plenty of ground balls to go around. Similar start to this game that the Yalls had in the Evansville series. 0-2 pitch, outside and high, 1-2. This game going much more quickly than did those. Plenty of 2-strike counts between the Yalls and the Otters, but foul balls galore. Guys working back from deep counts. Those games, all 3 of them, up near 3 hours with long at bats. 1-2 is a wave and a miss from Garcia. Good fastball from Sugg on the outer part. And he has just pushed the resume button where he left off at his last start against the Yalls. Retiring the first two in this inning and looking strong to start this game.
Yeah, for Sugg standards this year, he has had back-to-back less than stellar starts. 6 innings, 3 earned. Still a quality start his last time out. 4 innings, 4 earned against Washington the start before that.
First pitch up high, not close to Lane Hoover, the 9th man in the Yalls order.
So Sugg is due to get back on track if this season is not an anomaly, which is not proving to be this deep in the year, but he's had a couple of tough ones. He's trying to work his way back into form.
1-0 high again to Hoover, 2-0 the count. Well, Sugg on the year a 3.64 ERA. He has nearly cut that mark in half compared to what it was a year ago with Gateway when he posted a 6 flat mark. 71 2/3 innings, all in starts. 30 walks, 60 strikeouts. And on the 2-0, Hoover takes a strike. Outside corner, it's 2-1. Sugg's last time out against the Yalls, 6 innings, only 2 runs and 4 hits allowed in a 12-4 Windy City win back on June 30th. 2-1 delivery. Outside at low to Hoover, who flashed bunt. It's 3-1. Well, that game was in the middle of the Yalls' 11-game losing streak. 12-4 loss. That was just par for the course for Florence back then. Still figuring some things out to finish June and start July. They have righted the ship since. 3-1 on the ground, chopped to third off the glove of Martina, and it rolls away from him. Hoover at first, and an interesting scoring decision coming up here. They rule it a hit.
Yeah, that's one there for Martina. I don't know if he needed to go into a slide. I think he would have had that if he just reached out on the backhand side. Instead, he tried to slide and get a little momentum, and he ended up dropping the ball. You're right, that is an interesting scoring decision because I think that's an easier play than Martina made it look.
First pitch to Brennan Price is off the plate, 1-0, and this officially beginning Sugg's second time through the Yalls order with 2 outs in the bottom of the third. No score between Florence and Windy City. Well, the Yalls with only 2 hits. Hoover the latest infield single, and he's at first. Short lead doesn't go on this pitch. And it's up high for Price, who has just been sensational in this building. 2 for 11 at Evansville with 3 walks, so he got on base a fair bit, but compared to what he does here at Thomas More Stadium, it was a paltry stat line out Bossy. On the 2-0 pitch, Price looks at a pitch downstairs, 3-0. Aided by a very good homestand against Quebec and Schaumburg, where he hit leadoff and smacked 5 home runs. Price is hitting .387 in this ballpark this year. In 31 starts, he has 13 home runs, 44 runs driven in these confines. 3-0 pitch from Sugg. He flies it foul the other way, 3-1. Price with an OPS over 1,300 in this building. He was an all-star this year, just won Frontier League Hitter of the Week, and both those honors thanks in large part to the damage he does here in Florence.
He's getting a lot of traction as well for his leadoff capabilities, especially at his size.
He's been good out of that spot, and on the 3-1, he looks at a ball down. Ball 4 to keep the inning going. Back-to-back 2-out base runners for the Yalls. Hoover moves to second. And Florence has a couple on against Taylor Sugg for the first time today.
I mean, how many times, just talking about Price a little bit longer, how many times you see a 6'9", 320-pound leadoff man? He's been a middle-of-the-order bat his entire professional career, this entire season, but doing real damage in that leadoff spot. And now Fuente, speaking of doing damage, has a chance to do some damage against his former team. Flew out to right his first at bat, but chance to get the Yalls on the board here.
First pitch to Fuentes is a breaking ball down, 1-0. Price with 14 hits in 8 games out of the leadoff spot, including 5 home runs dating back to about a week ago. He's been great out of that top spot. The All's just rolling with what's working as Fuentes lines this pitch into right center field. It splits the gap between Kumalos and Spillane. Here comes the speedy Hoover to score. Price into third, and now he comes home as the throw is bobbled by Boone. And it's 2-0 Y'alls. Fuentes aboard at second, and he gets Florence on the board here in the third inning.
Doing damage against the former team. Last season hit .234 with Windy City. What a season he's had to turn his pro career around. That's now runs batted in, 29 and 30 on the season for Fuentes. And that was a stop sign originally for Mike Morris at third base. He held up Price. Then he saw that bobble, a bit of an errant throw in right center, and he decided to bring Price home for the first 2 runs.
Officially a double and 2 RBI scoring decision. Swing and a miss by Zuber, 0-1, and we just waited a moment because, like you said, that ball was juggled around by the Windy City infield as Price got to third. He took a slight hesitation and then charged full steam ahead to score the second run. Instead, Fuentes, 2-base hit, 2 RBI. He's at second with 2 down, and the 0-1 to Zuber is down. A breaking ball, it's 1-1. Fuentes in the Evansville series, 2 hits in 3 games. He did walk 3 times. Getting on base, but an extra base hit to start his series here against Windy City. Zuber also had a good 3 games at Bosse Field. The 1-1 is outside. 2-1 to the all center fielder. 4 hits, including a double, 4 walks, couple of diving catches out in Evansville, and a pair of stolen bases to boot in the first 2 games, then a third in game 3. He did just about everything for the Alls, and a very close 3 games. Zuber might have been the difference. 2-1 is a strike at the knees, 2-2. So for Sugg, his first start against Florence, 8 innings of 1-run ball, then 6 innings of 2-run ball the second time, both at Windy City. He's now allowed 2 runs in 2 2/3 here in Florence, and Zuber calls time. So the Alls getting up off the mat against this right-hander who has really had his way with this lineup. They have cracked into the scoreboard here in the 3rd inning at home. Fuentes at second, 2 down, 2-2 pitch. Zuber looks at it up and away, 3-2. Ray hitting .297 coming into this game. Second on the team in RBI with 48, 9 home runs. He's 0 for 1 today with a ground out that ended the first inning. On the payoff pitch from Sugg, Zuber looks at strike 3, inside corner. Not a fan of that call. He whips the bat away and tosses the helmet. That ends the inning for the Alls. Unhappiness with Jim Shalley behind the plate, but Florence does score 2. 2 RBI double for Brian Fuentes, and the Alls have an early lead through 3 here in Florence. After 3 innings here at Thomas More Stadium, it is 2-0. The Alls just grabbed an early lead in front of their home crowd. 2-0 on a 2 RBI double from Brian Fuentes. That hit with 2 outs. And Ryan Watson, the Y'all's rookie starter, staked to an early lead. He'll face Jake Boone, Dan Robinson, and Jonathan Waite, 6, 7, and 8 for Windy City in this inning. No runs, 3 hits for the Bolts through 3. Watson has been effective and now gets to pitch in front. First delivery of the inning to Boone is inside for ball 1. Boone on the season hitting .238. 1 home run, 20 RBI. 1-0 is fouled straight back. It's 1-1. Now the power goes to more of the gaps for Boone. Does have good speed, 16 steals on the year. 1-1 delivery from Watson. That's a strike. Outside corner. Pretty much the same spot where Ray Zuber got rung up to end the third. Lower inner corner to a lefty. Was not too happy about it. 1-2, chopped very high to second base. Tough play for Garcia, who stays with it for out number 1.
We've talked about Garcia's shortcomings at second base a little bit, but that play coming in, and you made a good point, sometimes when you have less time to think about a play is when you actually make the play more soundly. You know, with Boone's running down the line, that high chopper, Garcia having to charge in, he gets rid of that ball and it's always on target. A lot of the errors for Garcia have been throwing errors, but those high choppers when he has to run in and get rid of it quickly, he's been money.
Dan Robinson, the left-handed outfielder at the plate now, and he takes down low ball 1. Just chatting with Mike Morris, hitting coordinator, and Chad Rhodes, the manager, on some of these trips around the cage here at this park. 1-0 pitch, down low to Robinson, 2-0. They are always unequivocal when they tell you that fielding, especially for these guys, is just mental. For Garcia in particular, who has made 9 errors in his first 21 starts. 2-0, high chopper over the mound again. This one to Ed Johnson, the shortstop, who nonchalantly throws it on to first, making it look very easy. 2 outs in the top of the 4th inning. But they will emphasize over and over that there is no infielder they trot out there who can't make any throw from any space on the infield. Garcia and the rest of them have the capacity to make these throws, but it's all about muscle memory versus overthinking. And like you said, sometimes the easy plays where you have a lot of time, those are harder when you think about it too much. Jonathan Waite, the catcher, takes a strike with 2 down. Outside corner here, top of the 4th, with the Y'alls up by a pair. Waite hit by a pitch his first time up, and he grounds this foul to the left side. Good snag on the dugout edge by manager Richie Sexson, the Windy City skipper. Waite hitting .261 on the year. On the 0-2 pitch from Watson. He looks at a pitch down. Slider out of the arm of this right-hander, 1-2. Infield, normal depth for the Y'alls against this right-handed hitter. On the 1-2, Waite looks at another slider. This one's away, and it's 2-2. Waite, irregular catcher, plays about half the time. Splitting time with Matt Morgan behind the plate. Waite, the more offensively inclined of the two. 2-2 pitch. Chopped lightly to the pitcher's mound, and Watson right there. Underhand flip to finish off the inning. And what a response by the Y'alls rookie on the mound. A 1-2-3 shutdown inning. It's still 2-0 Y'alls after 3.5 here in Florence. Bottom of the fourth inning coming up here in Florence. Carter Bainbridge alongside Anthony Mazzini with you on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network as Taylor Sugg, the Windy City starter, warms up. About to face Zade Richardson, the cleanup man playing first base today for the Y'alls. 2-0 Florence ahead. And Richardson manning a familiar spot in the lineup, unfamiliar spot defensively. And this is his first game at first base with the Y'alls the whole season. In his 41st game, he digs in. Sugg deals. First pitch of the bottom of the fourth. It's a pop-up. Very high, a skyscraper on the right side. Boone and Yonamine over. And it's Boone from second base to take it for out number one. Another early swing, and first pitch attacking retires Richardson to bring up Hank Zeisler. Zeisler hitting fifth today and off to a very good start in his professional career. This is seventh start in the Y'alls uniform, and he takes a strike to begin this at bat. 0-1 on the California native, who coming into this game had hit .364 through his first 6 games. A pair of doubles, 3 driven in. 0-1, that's a strike. Outside corner. Sugg has been attacking the zone in this game, and save for one good 2-out swing by Brian Fuentes. He's been sharp again. 0-2. That's further out. Zeisler spits on it, 1-2. The Y'alls coaching staff, big fans of this former Missouri Tiger. Crowding the plate in the lefty box, and on the 1-2, a breaking ball goes just outside. Did miss by much for Sugg. On the 2-2, Zeisler lines a ball into center field. That's a base hit. Well, right after the close call, it comes back to bite Sugg and the Bolts. Zeisler on with his first hit of the game and series with 1 out in the bottom of the fourth.
Yeah, Zeisler keeps on hitting, 1 for 2 tonight. I gotta get this guy on track now, Ed Johnson. He started his career so hot, offensively and defensively, and he's come back down to earth. And what's gonna happen? You start off with a bang and come back down to more of a league average, I guess you could say. Zeisler's been tearing it up. Johnson has to get back on track now.
First pitch inside, 1-0. Well, the Y'alls dipping into the former SEC baseball talent pool. Former Mizzou member at first base. And an Alabama Crimson Tide alum at the plate in Johnson, who, like you said, has struggled as of late. On the 1-0, Johnson takes a strike. At the knees, 1-1. Including the double play he hit into in the second inning today. Johnson is now 2 for his last 25. Got off to a roaring start in the Quebec series, but has cooled off since. Good defense at short, has had him in the lineup every day, but the bat has gotten icy, and he chops this ball foul into the Thunderbolts dugout. It's 1-2.
Yeah, for a couple games there, looked like he was going to give the Y'alls the jolt they needed. Remember that game? They scored 13 against Quebec. Played some good defense, kept him in those games all series long. It seemed like he was going to be the jolt to wake up a dormant offense, but he has cooled off. On the 1-2 pitch, Johnson takes inside. Another breaking ball from Sugg. It's 2-2. Everything just surrounding the plate. All around it, but just not catching the corner. Well, that big curveball is the pitch that gave the Y'alls such fits up at Windy City from this right-hander. Throwing it for strikes all game long, both starts, as Johnson lifts the ball into left. Martina out, Robinson in from left, and he slides down to a knee to make the catch. Well, the outfielder for Windy City taking charge. Johnson nearly dropped that into no man's land, but strong defense from the Bolts keeps the bases fairly clean, with Zeisler still at first and now 2 down. That's a nice play by Robinson coming in. I think he mostly slid to stop himself. He had the third baseman Martina and the shortstop Viola running at him, so using that slide to stop himself to make the grab. Sugg now dealing with Nick Wimmers, who takes up and away ball 1.
Switch hitter batting left-handed against Sugg, who has gotten the fastball over for strikes. Hasn't fallen behind many hitters today, but he's not throwing the curveball for strikes yet. Trying the corners, not being rewarded thus far. 1-0. And that's off the plate. Another fastball. It's 2-0 to Wimmers. Well, Wimmers, the number 2 catcher on this squad, making his 7th start in a Y'all's uniform. 4 for 24 at the plate to start his Florence career, including a ground out today. On the 2-0, he looks at ball 3 up. Zeisler still at first, has not made a move towards second yet. Not a big-time runner so far in Zeisler's Florence career, but has stolen a bag. Wimmers likely in take mode here on 3-0, and Zeisler goes. Very good jump, but ball 4 anyway. Well, Sugg wasn't paying any attention, and Zeisler would have had that base stolen twice over. Took off with an aggressive lead before the right-hander had even thrown the pitch. Wimmers walks to keep the inning going.
With that kind of jump, Carter, Zeisler maybe could have stolen third on the same play. Sugg just falling asleep on the mound.
Zeisler alert, saw something he liked, and took off. Sugg locked in at the plate, and now Tristan Garcia bats with 2 down. First pitch, check swing, off the plate, 1-0. Sugg showing a little frustration with this zone. He's been trying to get the curveball at the bottom of the strike zone. That pitch a little off to Garcia, not by a lot. And a little bit of a stare in at Jim Shalley as the 1-0 comes in and Garcia fouls it off. Left side, it's a ball and a strike.
Yeah, I think he wanted those curveballs on the outside corner that you talked about, the ones that had been coming around the plate and just circling it, surrounding it, but not catching the corner in the eyes of Jim Shalley. But that's, you mentioned the pitch that did well.
1-1, ground ball, sharply hit to short, bobbled by Viola, and he has no play. Booted by the Windy City shortstop, and an error extends things for the Y'alls in the bottom of the 4th inning.
He just waited for that ball. He waited and waited and waited, and he didn't play the easy hop. Granted, that was low to the ground. There wasn't much of a hop, but by the time it got to him, it hit something on the turf and rolled up his arm. He just waited for that ball instead of attacking it.
And now Lane Hoover at the plate. He takes outside ball 1. Viola's 6th error, and this is 35th start of the year. Windy City, an above-average defensive team, but they make the first mistake of this series. Error on the board, E6, bases loaded, and Lane Hoover takes a strike outside corner to even the count at 1-1. Zeisler at third, Wimmers at second, Garcia at first. A single, a walk, and an error have loaded him up for the Y'alls in this inning. On the 1-1, Hoover swings at a breaking ball and flies it to left, fairly deep for Robinson, backing up toward the track, and makes the catch to end the inning. Well, Lane Hoover gave it a pretty good ride, but the Y'alls strand 3, and it's still 2-0 after 4 here in Florence.
Fifth inning, and the Yalls have a 2-0 lead over Windy City. And Ryan Watson back on the mound to begin the fifth inning. He's been really good, especially over the last couple of innings. 1-2-3, he retired the side in the fourth. Struck out a batter, his only strikeout in the third inning. Allowed some early traffic at the first and second, but Windy City, in part because of Watson's pitching, in part because of very early swinging for the Thunderbolts, they could not come through when they had a few runners on base. They have left 5 on tonight. And the Yalls have capitalized when they have had runners on. Last inning notwithstanding, in which they strand the bases loaded. Number 9 man Troy Viola leads it off. He committed the error in the fifth. It did not come back to bite the Thunderbolts. Pitch clock violation called against Watson. With that timer running down, he gets called for a violation. And it is 1-0 to begin the at-bat on Viola. So here is the 1-0. On the first pitch of the inning, it's called the strike. That's the rule that I maintain needs some altering. Those between inning pitch clock violations. 1-1. Slap down the right field line towards the line, and it stays fair. A couple of hops into the corner. Zeisler digs it out. Digging in for 2. Viola has himself a double. And he gets the T-Bolt started to begin the fifth inning.
Not a bad pitch from Watson. Very bottom of the zone, lower inner corner. But Viola with a good swing to take it out to right. Perhaps atoning for that mistake in the bottom of the fourth, an error that did not come back to contribute to a run.
So Windy City something cooking to begin the fifth inning. 2-0 Yalls. And a swing and miss for Kumalos to start his at bat. Back to the top of the order for the Thunderbolts. Kumalos 0 for 2 tonight. The double, the fifth of the year for Viola. He's at second base. Johnson in his back pocket at short. Watson checks him. Now the 0-1. Showing bunt and pulling it back out for a ball outside. It's 1-1. We've seen Watson at times struggle with runners on. That starts to rattle him. Saw that against Schomburg. Saw that a couple of innings ago in the third. 1-1. High chopper to the right side. This will get the runner to third. Garcia fields and throws out Kumalos at second. Productive out for Kumalos. Ground ball to the right side. Over to third. Viola is in safely there with 1 out. So an out, but a productive out for Kumalos. 1 gone in the fifth. Yalls up 2-0. And Martina the batter. They love him with runners in scoring position. First pitch. Off the hands, little flare down the right field line. Zeisler coming in, it falls in front of him, a base hit. And from third, Viola scores to put the Thunderbolts on the board. That just dunked in there, right off the hands, and Martina has his 41st run batted in. And it is 2-1, the Yalls still in front, but the Thunderbolts get on the board.
And that pitch was inside. Not even in the strike zone against a right-handed bat. It came in on the handle of Martina's bat. But quick enough hands to inside out that ball. Not very hard hit, but sometimes that's all you need.
Just a little dunker down the right field line. And now first pitch swinging for Spillane. He fouls it over the netting behind home plate. We talked about the low run batted in totals for a lot of these Thunderbolts this year. Martina, that's his 41st. A lot of guys with more home runs than Martina, but fewer runs batted in. Gets another one there, his 41st. 0-1, Spillane slaps it to the right out of play. Spillane has been on base twice tonight, once with a hit, once with a fielder's choice, and he has stolen second each time. Up to 16 swipes on the year now. He's only been caught once. Martina 6 of 9 stealing. He's at first base. 0-2. And Spillane stays alive, reaches for it, and fouls it back. Spillane was 0 for 4 yesterday. 3 for 11 in the series overall. Drove in a couple of runs. Time called again at home plate. A clock issue, never reset. And now it goes 20 on the timer. 0-2. Watson checks on the runner at first. Martina dives back in. Windy City yesterday, they were involved in a thriller. Down 6-3 in the 8th inning. Came from behind and won 9-7. 6-run rally to come away with that win. Long stare from Watson. The 0-2, and Spillane reaches down for this and flies it to center, fairly deep. Zuber drifting back, he has room, and he makes the grab. Back to first base goes Martina with now 2 outs in the 5th inning.
I have to say, I've been very impressed with Watson's location in particular tonight. He's worked in, he's worked out. We've had a very good pitch to Spillane, a pitcher's pitch, a slider low and away. Dotted it right on the corner, and Spillane, a good hitter, gave it a good ride, but when you get a pitch like that in that spot, it is very hard to hit out of the park.
Another check, and back to first base, Martina dives in. He's doing better this inning as well of keeping the runners in check. A few throws over to keep tabs on Martina. And Watson pitching into the 5th inning here has only allowed 1 run over 4 2/3. First pitch is called a ball inside to Isaacson. 0 for 1 with a walk today.
He's around the zone, good spots, mixing his pitches well with the 4-seam, the cutter, seen the slider as well, which is pretty much his 4th pitch, but he's been throwing that more than the changeup.
1-0. Ground ball to second. Garcia fields that and has plenty of time. Short arms a throw to first, and Isaacson retired to end the 5th inning. Thunderbolts get on the board. Leadoff double for Viola. He scores on a single for Martina. And after 4.5 at Thomas More Stadium, it is 2-1. Florence still in front on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. The top of the Y'alls order due up to begin the 5th inning at Thomas More Stadium. Still facing Taylor Sugg of the Thunderbolts. His offense just got him a run. It is now 2-1, the Y'alls in front. Florence had scored the only 2 in the game back in the 3rd inning, but the Thunderbolts on the board in the 5th with the RBI single for Martina. And now the Y'alls come up trying to answer that run with Brennan Price leading off. First pitch from Sugg. Breaking ball up and away. You've talked about that pitch giving the Y'alls fits in his first couple of starts up at Ozinga Field against Florence. 2 dandy starts for this right-hander, but it has not been on as well tonight as it was in the first 2. 1-0. There's a fastball outside corner.
He looks very similar to the first 2 times, though. Getting strikes early in the count, throwing the fastball with authority, in and out, up and down. Good control of his pitches.
1-1. Price swings and grounds it through the right side, a base hit. Hard ground ball finds the 1st and 2nd gap. And Price leads off the 5th with a single.
A good piece of hitting by Price, who's keeping up his hot play in this ballpark that we touched on earlier. Got a pitch on the outside half that time, a little bit up, but got around on it from Sugg. Not a fastball. That was off speed left up in the zone, and that's usually what happens to pitches like that against hitters like Price.
First pitch to Fuentes, called the strike outside corner. So leadoff man on to begin the fifth for the Y'alls. They lead it 2-1. Because of this guy, Brian Fuentes, 2-run double back in the third inning. The only Y'alls scoring so far. 0-1. Fastball right at the knees, called the strike.
And that mix is exactly what works so well for Sugg. He started Fuentes with that curveball. He's been trying to get over the whole start. 78 miles an hour with about 6 feet of break. It is a nose-to-toes hook with good velocity.
0-2, up and in. Nose to toes. Did you just make that one up now?
No,
I've never heard of that.
I've heard that before. That wasn't me.
I've heard 12-6. I've heard sweeping slider, frisbee slider. I've never heard nose to toes. Interesting. 1-2, inside.
He works well with the fastball off that. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Edgar Martinez, where you have a good curveball, but you're not throwing it with 2 strikes. It's more of a start in at bat, 1-0, throw it to get a strike kind of pitch, and then the fastball is more of a 2-strike weapon.
2-2. Breaking ball this time fought off to the right, out of play. So more of that establishing pitch. Work from behind, work backwards.
Yeah, he started the at-bat with it to Fuentes for strike 1, then threw a fastball, tunneling it well. Fuentes took that. All of a sudden, you're down 0-2, and that's kind of the way that Sugg pitched against the Y'alls the first 2 times, is you're kind of waiting and waiting for Florence to put good wood on his pitches. You look up, it's the 7th inning, and you have 1 or 2 runs.
2-2, reaches for this and flies it out of play down the right field line again. Good at bat for Fuentes. Price at first, nobody out in the 5th in a 2-1 game. I'm still thinking about nose to toes. Never heard that before.
It's high praise. Usually means a curveball is pretty good. If it's nose to hip, usually means it gets hit pretty hard.
That's true. 2-2. And Fuentes flies this to right, towards the line. Kumulos a few steps over, and he makes the catch. 1 gone in the 5th. Now in softball, you have the rise ball. Do they call that the toes to nose? Do you know?
It would be a pretty good one if it rose that much.
Well, if you ever call softball, keep that in mind. Nose to toes, putting that one in the memory bank. Fuentes the fly out to right for the first out in the 5th inning, and that brings in Ray Zuberer. Price still at first base. It's still a 2-1 Y'alls lead. Pitch to Ray. He's outside.
Another thing about Sugg is that he's not even the most heralded starter on this staff. We got a couple other very impressive arms. You know, when Sugg can get you a win in the first game of a series, that sets the Bolts up for the other 2 games, and they have a couple options that have been very good.
1-0. Zuberer pops this up to left, rather shallow. Robinson towards the gap. Now he runs in, and the left fielder for Windy City makes the catch for out number 2. Yeah, Garrett Christman is their big starter in this Windy City rotation. He was an all-star. The Y'alls will not see Christman this weekend. But Christman on the year, 14 starts at 2.72 ERA. Sugg their next best starter this season, and Henry Omania on the 60-day IL. But boy, what a start to the season he had before going down with the injury. Sub-1 ERA. 2 outs, first pitch to Richardson, called the strike.
Yeah, obviously you wish Omania the best. It's just a disappointing sight to see him hurt because he was so electric for the early part of the season. 6 starts, 3 earned runs in almost 36 innings. Good chunk of June, he was leading the league in strikeouts. Up there with Nate Florence for a while.
0-1, misses down. And 1-1 on Richardson. 2 outs, runner on. 2-1 game, the Y'alls in front. Now, a lot of guys on the injured list right now for Windy City. They have 3 guys on the 60-day IL, 1 on the 7, 1 on the 14. They're pretty banged up. Omania, one of them. 1-1. Fly ball to center field on a breaking ball. Richardson get jammed a bit. And from right field, Kumulos camps under it to make the catch. That ball started towards center and tailed all the way to right. Ended up at Kumulos' glove, and he makes the grab for the final out of the bottom of the 5th inning. So Price's leadoff single is all for naught. He's stranded at first base. And after 5 in Florence, the Y'alls on top 2-1 on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. Top of the 6th, and it is a 2-1 game. Another pitcher's duel. The Y'alls were just engaged in a couple of those on the road at Evansville. A couple of one-run games, a 3-run margin of victory that took extra innings to determine a winner before the Y'alls broke out in the 10th inning. And another one tonight, 2-1. Windy City down a run, and they send Micah Yonamine to the plate to lead off the 6th. First pitch is a strike at the knees from Ryan Watson, who pitches into the 6th inning. Just 1 run allowed through 5. And he's been pitching to contact tonight. Just 1 strikeout for the right-hander. 0-1. High chopper over to third. Fuentes charges in, grabs it, and a throw a little bit high, but Richardson holds the bag. Richardson hasn't been tested much at first base. Really, that's the only time he's had to make any sort of extended effort. No pun intended there. And that is out number 1 on a good stretch at first base.
Well, Richardson has not played a game at first, at least the data we have on hand, since at least before his affiliated career. All the time in the minors, he never started a game at first, and this is the first one with the Y'alls this year.
Get me over breaking ball strike to start Boone off. 1 gone in the 6th. Y'alls in front 2-1, and Watson picking up the pace. He fires and gets it by Boone. Tied him up with a fastball inside half. Bit of an experiment at first base, and like we talked about early in the game, it just goes to show where the Y'alls are at health-wise. Richardson playing first base today. Brennan Price, the DH. He can slot in at first, but no Massey, no DeNicola. 0-2, fouled straight back. Y'alls short-handed right now. Massey unavailable. They would like to stay away from DeNicola. So Jeremiah Burks, the lone healthy man on the bench. 0-2, called strike 3, outside corner. And Watson makes quick work of Jake Boone. That is his 2nd strikeout of the ball game, and 2 gone in the 6th.
94-mile-an-hour fastball, a tick up toward 95 for Watson. That's about as hard as we've seen him throw tonight. Dialing up a little something extra for Mr. Boone.
First pitch misses outside to Robinson. Has he picked up the pace as well? Have you noticed that in this inning? Seems like he's working quicker.
Fairly consistent rhythm. Maybe a little bit faster here. 8 on the clock here.
1-0. Cutter misses just outside. That pitch hasn't been there. You know, Suggs been trying that pitch as well with that breaking ball, and that time Watson didn't get the call as it came around the plate. 2-0 to Robinson. Here it is. And he pops it to the left out of play.
And low and away from left-handed hitters. Down and into right-handed hitters. It's been a tough spot. Not rewarded by Jim Shalley tonight. And Watson's been spotting practically every other area, mixing up his pitches very well.
2-1. And Robinson gets under this. Lazy fly off of third. Fuentes just waiting for it, and he makes the grab. Fine 5th inning, or 6th inning, excuse me, for Watson. 1-2-3, his second 1-2-3 inning of the ball game. And Windy City down in order. Nothing doing for them. They trail 2-1 on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. Bottom of the 6th inning here in Florence, and the Y'alls have held on to this 2-1 lead for quite some time now. Scored 2 in the 3rd inning, Windy City responded with a run in the 5th, but the Yalls have not scored since that 3rd inning. Taylor Sugg has done a nice job of settling into this outing. He did strand the bases loaded in the 4th. Nice 5th inning after the leadoff single for Brendan Price. Nothing came of that. And Sugg also working into the 6th inning. Ryan Watson has a quality start so far for the Yalls. 1 run, 2 strikeouts over 6 innings. Now both of these pitchers here, Carter, performing well in the series opener, and the pitchers' duels, as you've talked about, continue.
Pretty similar stuff for both Sugg and Watson. Both right-handers who have spotted their fastballs today. Neither one really lighting up the radar gun, although Watson is the harder thrower of the two. A lot of 0-1 counts, a lot of strike throwing, a lot of hitters trying to just put balls in play on the outer and inner halves, and we've seen plenty of ground balls because of that.
Hank Zeisler leads off the bottom of the 6th, and Sugg fires a fastball inside half. Sugg, 1 more strikeout tonight than Watson, 3 compared to 2, but there's not been a big strikeout game. A lot of that is because batters have been swinging early. 0-1, and right on cue, Zeisler fouls it off the front foot, and he takes a walk up the 3rd baseline. Tons of early swinging, sometimes first pitch, second pitch. We talked about it earlier. It's either been a long at-bat or a very quick at-bat. There really hasn't been much of the happy medium today, those 4, 5, 6 pitch at-bats. Feels like it runs up there 8 or 9 pitches, or it's been 1 or 2. That's part of the reason why these pitchers have gone into the 6th inning. Watson likely to go out there for the 7th as well. Some stirring in the bullpen, but nobody throwing for the Yalls. 0-2 and pulled on the ground, first base side. And that is foul.
I'd bet it was part of the game plan for these teams tonight to attack early in counts. And these coaching staffs likely have data that tells them, hey, if you fall behind Ryan Watson 0-2, 1-2, or the other way around for Sugg, here's your expecting batting average, and it's not very high. So against a couple strike throwers, try to swing early. See if you get a pitch over the middle.
0-2, Zeisler fouls it off down the left field line. Zeisler puts on some good at-bats. Singled last inning in the 4th, or last at-bat, I should say, 2 innings ago. Zeisler getting moved up in the lineup today when DeNicola was scratched. 0-2. Again, that breaking ball runs outside, trying to surround the plate. It's 1-2.
A lot of break on that pitch tonight. You can clearly identify it when it comes out of Sugg's hand, but just less of a feel for that pitch than he's had in some of his better starts this year.
1-2, same pitch again. This one better, but not called a strike again. And Jim Shalley, to his credit, has been consistent with that no call for both sides.
And to his credit, he's usually been right. That one was off the plate as well. Not by much, but by letter of the law.
2-2, pulled on the ground. Second base side, Boone has that. And an easy play for him to retire Zeisler for out number 1.
He doesn't get the breaking ball over, and instead just goes with a fastball down and away. Zeisler doing with that pitch what left-handers usually do if they go after it. That's grounded to the right side and not all that hard. Easy play for Boone. And once again, Sugg not in the lead in this game, but he has looked just as sharp as he did in the first 2 starts against the Yalls.
Fires home to Ed Johnson. He swings at the first pitch. A nice snare at short by Viola. Fields that, and a spinning throw to first. Ball was hit so hard on the backhand side, it took Viola into a 360. And a nice play there on that one hopper. That short hop, that's a tough play. And that is 2 outs now in the 6th inning.
And that pitch up in the zone, a little bit too far in for Johnson to really get his arms around on it. And ground balls galore. Sugg has really induced some contact on the ground today.
Pitch to Wimmers, called the strike outside corner. 2 outs in the 6th, and nobody on. Y'all's up 2-1. I think it makes this outing all that more impressive for Sugg as well, considering that breaking ball hasn't been there. 0-1. Another ground ball out to second base. Boone, a step to his right, fields it and throws out Wimmers at first. Well, we are deadlocked in a pitcher's duel. Not deadlocked on the scoreboard, though. Y'all's up 2-1, going to the 7th inning on the Florence Y'all's Baseball Network.
in the 7th inning here at Thomas More Stadium. Carter Bainbridge alongside Anthony Mazzini as we sit and watch what has been a pitcher's duel through the first 6 innings of this one. Series opener between Florence and Windy City, and both these starters have been up to the task. Ryan Watson, the rookie for Florence, against Taylor Sugg, the Frontier League veteran. And Watson has been just 1 run better in a 2-1 game through 6. First batter up is Jonathan Waite. He sends a first pitch ground ball to third. Brian Fuentes, easy play, and out number 1 very quickly in the 7th. Watson has now retired 6 in a row, going back to the 5th. The Alls and Chad Rhodes said before the game, this bullpen is hurting a little bit, not only in terms of depth, but just in terms of guys who could go tonight nearing the end of the season. Watson has answered the bell in a big way through 6 1/3. He fires ball 1 to Troy Viola here. A right-handed bat with nobody aboard.
18 combined ground ball outs tonight.
On the 1-0, Viola fouls it back, 1-1 rather.
Should have been 19 if not for that Viola error back in the 4th inning. But there have been a ton of ground balls for both sides.
1-1 is down and away, 2-1, and by my count, the Thunderbolts have hit only 4 outs in the air today against Watson. 2-1. Tapped foul left side, 2-2 on Viola.
That's what I have as well.
None since the 3rd inning either. Well, a pop-up in the 6th, but that's not to the outfield. Either way, he has been forcing soft contact all night. 2-2. Popped up right side. Possible play for Zeisler going over toward the wall, and it does twist out of play. 2-2 on Viola, who is 1 for 2 today with a double. He scored the only Thunderbolts run of the game so far back in the 5th. Leadoff double, moved to third on a ground ball, then Junior Martinez singled him in. But Windy City with only 1 run on 5 hits in this game so far. 2-2 pitch. Grounded third base side. High hop for Fuentes. Not an easy play. On the ground, it gets to first and dug out by Richardson. In his first start of the year at first base, that was not an easy play by any means, but well done by the Y'all's corner infielders.
And give Fuentes the assist on that one, too. He made it easy for Zaid at first base. Rather than throw that throw over there on a line where it might 1-hop on a short hop, he gave him a 2-hopper to first base. It made it a bit easier for him, and nicely done.
Paul Kumalos at the plate. He fouls it off the end of the bat, opposite way, 0-1. Now Fuentes got enough off that ball in the second bounce. Springing off this turf on the infield. Richardson just had to pick it up like he was blocking a ball behind home plate. And the 0-1's up and away, 1-1 with 2 down. Paul Kumalos today is 0 for 3. Not a lot of crooked numbers on the board for Windy City. And on the 1-1, he wraps it right side foul.
I remember Kumalos from the summer collegiate days back with the Worcester Bravehearts when he was still a student at St. Leo. He has slimmed down a lot. He's put himself in really good shape. He was more of a designated hitter and first baseman back in the day, but now playing right field. Much more of a slender build in the box.
Well, the Alls shading him a bit to pull. Garcia deeper at second base, and on the 1-2, Kumalos takes outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count.
I remember a little more power in his game, though. Just 3 home runs so far to begin this year, but he's brought that number down.
2-2, check swing, outer half, and he doesn't go. Full count for Kumalos, who last year in the MLB Draft League played 40 games with Trenton, hit just 1 home run. So these days hitting for a little more contact, and he takes down low there. Good at bat. With 2 outs in the 7th, Kumalos draws a walk to interrupt the consecutive batters retired streak from Watson. It ends at 7, and that draws a mound visit from pitching coach Carl Craigie.
If I had to guess, he's telling Watson, This is your final inning. We have some action getting loose in the bullpen. That is their new pitcher, Nick Ernst, who was just signed today, the local kid out of LaSalle High School. If I had to guess, he's telling Watson, this is your final inning. Just work out of this and you're done. Get us through this 7th inning. However, it's not easy. Martina up now, then Spillane, Isaacson, Yonamine. Getting to the middle part of this order here, so this is no easy task for Watson. Craigie just likely giving him some reminders on how he got these guys out the first couple of times through. Just bear down, get us out of this inning, and your job is done.
Well, Ernst, a right-hander and a Cincinnati native, signed today. Chad Rhodes mentioned before the game with a thin bullpen, he could very well pitch right off the jump today. As Watson deals with Junior Martina, first pitch called strike. At the knees, inside corner, and a good spot to begin the at-bat. It's 0-1.
And Ernst, of course, we'll talk about him more when he comes in, which it appears he will, but has experience closing out games as well, a few staves in the minors.
0-1 delivery. Check swing inside, and a foul tip off the bat of Martina, who is arguing that that did not happen.
Well, if anything, I think there's more of an argument he went around or did not go around. Never mind the foul ball.
And Martina calls time. He's not happy about this.
Did you hear anything? I didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear a foul tip.
No.
Martina down to the count 0-2 in any event, with Kumalos at first and 2 down, and on the 0-2. Martina checks his swing again, pitch up high, and he holds up that time, according to an appeal. Joseph Kimbrough at first base, closing that out. And it's 1-2.
Those last couple pitches, it's more of an argument whether or not he was going around on the check swing.
1-2 delivery. Foul tip. Audible that time off the plate. It's 1-2. One ball, 2 strike count on Martina, who's 2 for 3 today. The pitch, a little bit up and out for Shalley's liking behind the plate. And Watson will have to try again.
That one didn't miss by much.
Kumalos at first, moderate lead, hasn't gone yet. 2-2 pitch with 2 outs to Martina. Grounded right side, softly for Garcia, who looks at second, instead goes to first, and Martina didn't even get halfway up the line. He's retired to end the top of the 7th inning, and it's still 2-1. The Y'alls lead. 7 strong innings for Ryan Watson as we go to the home half here at Thomas More Stadium. We're moving right along to the bottom of the 7th inning at Thomas More Stadium. The Y'alls have a slim 2-1 lead over the Windy City Thunderbolts in the first game of this series. Carter Bainbridge alongside Anthony Mazzini as Tristan Garcia stands into the left-handed batter's box to begin the home half of the 7th. Taylor Sugg, the Thunderbolts starter, is still on the mound. He's through 6 innings of 2-run balls so far, and now faces 8, 9, and 1. First pitch attacking for Garcia, who pops it deep into the hole at short, and what a play by Viola. Troy Viola, the Windy City shortstop, laying out to deny Garcia of a bloop hit. Good hustle, and a lot of ground covered for out number 1 here in the 7th.
Yeah, certainly not hard hit there by Garcia, but just well placed. Right between third and short, and Viola tracks that down. Nice job to get over there and leap or lunge to make that play.
1 out, Lane Hoover, the batter, 1-0. So Garcia's dying knuckler through the air could not find some turf. And Viola with a good heads-up play at short, laying out for out number 1. Hoover at the plate here, 1 for 2 today with an infield hit, and he takes ball 2.
You're on it with the phrases today. The dying knuckler, nose to toes. I like it.
There's a reason they keep me around. Sometimes I bring my thesaurus as the 2-0 comes in upstairs to Hoover, 3-0. Infield playing Hoover straight up. Speedy runner who could potentially leg out a ground ball. On the 3-0, Hoover looks at a strike outside corner in take mode. And it's 3-1 with Brennan Price on deck. 10 on the clock for Sugg, who has allowed just 2 runs on 5 hits to this point. 3-1, Hoover shows bunt and takes low, ball 4. Hoover's been doing more and more of that lately. He was getting on base at a good clip in the Evansville series and draws a walk here. His 2nd time on board today, and with 1 out, Brennan Price is the hitter here in the 7th.
This feels like an inning here that if the Alls are going to tack on a couple of runs, it might come here. End of Sugg's outing, now top of the order up. Give himself some breathing room.
First pitch up and away from Price. It's 1-0. With 1 out, this is the guy the Alls want up at the plate. All-star this year, Frontier League Hitter of the Week, late July, and has been absolutely torrid here at home. 1-0. That breaking ball is up. Again for Sugg, not locating that pitch well tonight. But his fastball's been good enough. He's mixed up his pitches pretty well. And the Alls have been making a lot of soft contact. That's not really Price's game. 2-0 pitch, cut and a miss. Went after a fastball up and out of the zone. And a 2-1 count. Good running count for Hoover at first base if he wants to go. 5 for 7 on steal tries this year is Lane. 2-1 count, he stays put, and Price swings through another. It's 2-2.
He's been late a couple of times tonight. Chased one in his first at bat, struck out swinging, late on that one.
2-2 the count, 1 out. Hoover at first. And on the 2-2 pitch, Price looks at a breaking ball up. Sugg tries it again. And the count goes full.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. He just keeps on going to that. Not locating, and the ones that he does just haven't been called a strike.
3-2 count, Hoover at first. Pitch to Price, Hoover doesn't go, and it's outside, ball 4. Price with a good at bat, and the 2nd straight walk drawn off Sugg. And that spells trouble for Windy City here in the 7th, and manager Richie Sexton knows it. He's out to the mound to talk to his right-hander.
I think he's just signaled to the pen, and he has. So that's it for Sugg. Back-to-back walks in the 6th inning. He's running out of gas, and Sexton takes the ball from him.
Sugg very sharp again here tonight. A 3rd straight start against the Alls of 6 innings or more, but his day is done after 6 1/3. Sugg leaves the game down 2-1 with 2 aboard here in the bottom of the 7th. And we'll tell you more about the new Windy City pitcher when we come back on the Florence Baseball Network. Still in the bottom of the 7th here at Thomas More Stadium, and a pitching change for Windy City. First man out of the pen relieving Taylor Sugg is Justin Miller, a right-hander and a native of California, who's on to face Brian Fuentes, the Y'all's number 2 hitter, with 2 aboard and a double steal off the jump. The throw goes to second where Price slides in, and it trickles away into center. Here comes Hoover from third base, and he scores standing up. Another keystone routine from this Windy City defense, and this time it costs them. A run is in for Florence in the 7th, and it's 3-1.
Oh, we barely talk about Justin Miller. All of a sudden, the Y'alls put runners in motion. Error throw from the catcher. Wait. Next thing you know, Hoover scores.
Price at second. He stole a bag on that double steal, and the 1-0 to Fuentes is low, 2-0. For Hoover, stolen base number 6, and he has scored 2 runs today out of the number 9 spot. Price, meanwhile, after that walk, now stands at second base. So finally he gets that stolen base out of the leadoff spot. His 2nd of the year in 5 tries as Fuentes grounds a ball up the middle. Price from second, take it off, puts the brakes on at third, and he stops there. Fuentes at first, and runners at the corners for the Y'alls with 1 out here in the 7th.
You want to talk about jumping on a guy from the get-go. Put the runners in motion to begin with, and then Fuentes comes through with a hit. His 2nd of the day. I think Price maybe could have scored on that. Spillane fielding that ball without the momentum behind him. Price maybe could have scored, but Y'all's not wanting to run themselves out of this inning with some momentum on their side.
And not with this guy up at the plate, Ray Zuber, who takes outside from Miller, 1-0. Well, this right-hander for Windy City making appearance number 30 on the year. Often used reliever, 4.93 ERA in 34 2/3 innings coming into today, as Zuber takes outside ball 2. 20 walks, 29 strikeouts for Miller. No saves and an 0-2 record. Fairly good strikeout rate, but the walk rate uncomfortably high. 2-0 pitch. There goes the lead runner, Fuentes. Well, from first base he goes with Price at third base. 2-1 the count on Zuber, who is 0 for 3 today, but came through in spots like this in the Evansville series time and time again. Finished with 4 hits in 3 games. Drove in a run, walked a couple times. He was active on the offensive end. Miller, a thrower getting it up to 90 miles an hour, facing a potent left-handed bat. Runners at the corners for the Y'alls, 1 out, 2-1. Breaking ball up, but it's 3-1.
That run, by the way, charged to Sugg. It started off as unearned after the error, but it became earned after the hit. So that is the 3rd run allowed by Sugg, and still responsible for Price at third base.
3-1. Fouled away left side, high in the air down the left field line. And the count goes full with Fuentes at first. Above average runner, Price at third with 1 out. Miller in a jam with the Thunderbolts now down 3-1. Payoff pitch to Ray. There goes Fuentes, and it's down for ball 4. That loads the bases. Zuber walks, and Zade Richardson is coming to the plate.
The walks have put the Thunderbolts in a jam this inning. Only 1 hit, but 3 walks. Stolen base and an error to expedite the run scoring process for the Y'alls, but the walks between Sugg and now Miller causing the issue.
First pitch to Richardson, swing and a miss as Miller pulled the string. Zade anticipating a fastball he didn't get, and it's 0-1. For the Y'alls, usual catcher playing first base today, who has some serious slug in the bat. Bases loaded, 1 out, and on the 0-1 he looks at a pitch high, a 1-1. Well, Richardson, one of only 2 names with double-digit home runs on this Y'alls squad. Price, the other, with 18. Richardson with 10, second on the squad in that category. He and Price, the only 2 members slugging over 600 on the year. 1-1, check swing, down low, they appeal. And Joseph Kimbrough says no. 2 balls and a strike to count on Richardson.
And to think he didn't join the team until about 3 or 4 weeks in.
Richardson's played about half the games that Price has. 35 starts, 10 home runs. 2-1. Lined into center field, coming on Spillane. It drops in front of him. And the throw goes to third. Fuentes slides there. Price in to score. And it's 4-1 Y'alls here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Well, everybody had to hold up for a moment as Spillane came charging in. And on a do-or-die play, he trapped the ball underneath his body in moderately deep center. Bases still loaded for the Y'alls as they go station to station and give Richardson an RBI.
And give Sugg 1 more earned run, so that puts an end to his outing. 6 1/3, 4 earned. Give him a no-quality start.
Strike call to Hank Zeisler to begin his at-bat. Bases still loaded. Another lefty facing Justin Miller. With Fuentes at third, Zuber at second, and Richardson at first. Infield in for Windy City as Zeisler lines the 0-1 into left field, a base hit. Fuentes in to score, and everybody puts the brakes on after 1 base. The Y'alls tack on another. It's 5-1 here in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, now the hits are starting to come. It was the walks that got Windy City in trouble, but now they're getting the hits and bringing home those runs.
Ed Johnson now at the plate. 4 batters faced, 4 have reached against Justin Miller. First out of the pen for Windy City, who has given them anything but relief here in the 7th inning. 3 runs in for Florence, still only 1 out, and the bases are loaded with Zuber at third, Richardson at second, and Hank Zeisler at first base. And how about that? Swinging early in the count for the rookie. Zeisler, a good piece of opposite field hitting. Got a pitch low and away and just swung it over into left. Not very hard hit, but past the outstretched glove of Viola at short. Infield still in. First pitch to Johnson, and he swings and misses 0-1. 5-1. The Y'alls have powered out further in front here in the 7th with a 3 spot so far, looking for more. They've cracked this pitcher's duel wide open. The 0-1. Breaking ball. Good one for a strike from Miller. It's 0-2. Well, Miller with those 20 walks in his first 34 2/3 innings coming into today. He does have some command problems on occasion and has again today. Swing and a drive by Johnson down the left field line. Fair ball into the corner. Zuber in to score. Richardson hot on his tail. Zeisler now rounding third as the throw comes to the plate. Too high. Johnson moves to third, and the base is clear in the bottom of the 7th. 3 more come in, and the Y'alls lead it 8-1.
What happened to that pitcher's duel, Carter? Next thing you know, it is a lopsided advantage, 8-1. A 6 spot in this 7th inning for the Y'alls. Really put a damper on Sugg's outing, but the Y'alls bats wake up. They've been kind of dormant all week. They won a couple of games, squeaked out a few against the Otters, but they are blowing the doors off this one.
And Nick Wimmers takes down low. Switch hitter batting left-handed against Miller. The count 1-0 with 1 out. Ed Johnson at third base, officially a double and 3 RBI. He advanced to third on the throw. Infield still in. 1-0 to Wimmers off the fists foul left side. It's 1-1. And the Y'alls with 6 runs in this frame so far on 4 hits and a trio of walks. Still hitting in an 8-1 game. 1-1 pitch to Wimmers is a strike outside corner. 4 runs to Sugg, 4 so far charged to Miller. With Johnson at third base, good speed, would score on a fly ball in the 1-2. Outside corner off the plate. Miller doesn't get the call. It's 2-2. On the 2-2, Wimmers looks at strike 3 called. Breaking ball that snapped in at the knees, and the Y'all's catcher sits. He's the second out of the bottom of the 7th inning. But Tristan Garcia back up for the second time as Florence has officially batted around. First pitch, strike called, 0-1 on Garcia. 0-1 with Johnson at third, 2 down. The infield back to normal depth for the Thunderbolts. Garcia popped out to start the inning, and the 0-1 is upstairs, 1-1. After that, 7 straight reached for the Y'alls against Taylor Sugg, and then Justin Miller, who has not fared well since coming in this game in relief. 1-1 outside corner strike. Good fastball spot. A ball and 2 strikes the count on Garcia, who is 0 for 3 today. 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. Fouled away. The other way, it's 1-2. Well, for the Y'alls, finally a breath of fresh air on offense. They had struggled for runs both series up in Windy City. In the first series, they got 10 runs in 3 games. 1-2 to Garcia's low. It's 2-2. In the second series, a sweep at the hands of Windy City. They scored 11 in 3 games. So sometimes scoring a fair bit, but never enough. 1-5 record against the Bolts coming in it today, but with this game in hand. 2-2 is off the plate, just missed. And again, that outside corner to left-handed batters not being awarded today by Jim Shalley. Miller, the latest to find that out. Struggling through a difficult 7th, and the payoff pitch down for ball 4. Garcia walks, and the inning continues.
Second walk by Miller, 4th of the inning. I think Richie Sexton's seen enough. He has.
Well, he's out to the mound. His right-hander's day is done. All he could do was get 1 out. The first 5 hitters reached against Miller. He struck out 1, but a 2-out walk spells the end of his unproductive evening. A new pitcher into the game for Windy City, the 3rd of the inning, and we'll tell you more about him when we return to the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. 8-1 your score. The Y'alls in front with runners at the corners here in the 7th. We are still in the bottom of the 7th here at Thomas More Stadium. The Y'alls have broken this game open in a big way. 6 runs scored in this inning. They have batted around and are continuing with runners at the corners in an 8-1 game against left-hander Cal Juraskovich. The left-hander on for his 25th appearance of the year. 1-2 record, 4.56 ERA, and 23 2/3 innings coming into this one. And he faces Lane Hoover, the 9th man in the order for the Y'alls, who's up to bat for the 2nd time in this inning. Johnson at third, Garcia at first, and the first pitch to Hoover is a strike. Bottom of the zone, it's 0-1. Hoover, the 11th man to bat in this inning. The Y'alls have scored 6. The 0-1 chopped to shortstop. Viola up with it. Short toss to second. And just like that, Juraskovich ends the inning. Not before the Y'alls take a commanding lead 8-1 after a 6-run eruption in the 7th. And we're on to the 8th here in Florence. The Y'alls up comfortably.
Well, the complexion of this game has changed dramatically. 2-1 game going into the 7th inning. It is now 8-1 going to the 8th inning after a 6-run 7th inning for the Y'alls Bats. A little bit of help from some poor pitching from Windy City, in which they walked 4 last inning. They also committed an error defensively. But the Y'alls Bats with 4 hits in the inning to capitalize on that. They lead it 8-1. And a no-pressure situation for new arm Nick Ernst to come into the game. Originally, he was slated to come in a 1-run game, and now all of a sudden it's a 7-run game. First pitch breaking ball misses up to Brent Spillane, ball 1. Ernst, a local kid from right here in Cincinnati, pitched at Miami, Ohio University. 1-0 to Spillane, up and in. Ernst had a fantastic season with Miami back in 2017. Ran into some injuries at the end of his career and was taken in the 15th round in 2018 by the Yankees. 2-0. Popped up over the first base dugout, out of play. Battled some injuries to begin his pro career, then spent 3 years in the Yankee system from 2019 until last season. Latched on with the Chicago White Sox organization this year before his release, and now with Florence. 2-1, up and away. Overall, more than 90 games in the minor leagues, a 4.97 ERA. Saved a handful of games. And making his Y'alls debut tonight. 3-1. Swing and a miss. Elevated fastball, and Spillane cut and a miss. It's 3-2. Ernst, the lone Cincinnati native on the roster. Closest big city to Florence. 3-2, swing and a miss. And that is strike 3, so chalk that up as the first Y'alls strikeout for Nick Ernst. And 1 gone in the 8th inning. Y'alls have some guys from the area. Zade Richardson from New Richmond, Ohio. Ray Zuberer from Owensboro, Kentucky. He is the lone Kentuckian on the roster. I beg your pardon, Tristan Garcia from Louisville. First pitch to Isaacson, and he skies it to the left, out of play. But for the most part, a lot of outside help for the Y'alls this year, coming from other parts of the country. Oh, 0-1 to Isaacson. Here's the pitch. It's a breaking ball that misses up. Handful of Latin American guys as well, and we've neglected to mention tonight is Latin Heritage Night at Thomas More Stadium. 1-1. Hard on the ground, that's through the right side. A base hit for Isaacson. his first of the night. And the Thunderbolts have a one-out base runner in the 8th. Latin Heritage Night. A lot has been said in Spanish tonight. Players for both teams from Latin American countries were honored before the game. They carried out a flag with their native country. And a lot of Latin and Hispanic music tonight. Y'all's wearing specialty jerseys as well that say Somos los Y'alls, which if my Spanish is correct, it means we are the Y'alls. Yonamine now batting with one out in the 8th. First pitch. And slider misses down and away. I'd say of all the specialty jerseys, these are not the flashiest the Y'alls have worn, but certainly nice nonetheless, representing all the countries on the back with little flags of all the represented countries. 1-0. Good pitch there. Breaking ball on the inside half. It's 1-1.
They look pretty good. Pretty simple, but good design. And the Y'alls have looked good in them today.
They're not the flash of those Christmas and July jerseys we saw last week, but nice nonetheless. 1-1, that's rocketed out to left on a line. No chance for Hoover to get there. That one hops the wall and over the wall. Ground rule double for Micah Yonamine. He stung that one. And back-to-back hits against Ernst here in the 8th inning for the Thunderbolts.
Ernst going with mainly just a fastball so far. He struck Spillane out with it, but Isaacson and Yonamine both had their hits on the fastball. Well, that time, pitch up and in that Yonamine just turned on, and although he has a lot of strikeout in his game, when he connects, there is that raw power that you see on that double.
Now Boone bats and he swings and grounds it to third. Fuentes looks the runner back and throw to first in time to get Boone, who's had a tough night. He's now 0 for 4. And the Thunderbolts, they have kept Fuentes busy at third base. He handles out number 2 in the 8th.
Plenty of ground balls. Thunderbolts offense just hasn't really been tuned up today. And credit Ryan Watson for that. You know, Ernst coming into this inning, losing that in the shuffle. 6-run rally in the 7th, but Watson 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. He was great.
Now Robinson bats and he takes a breaking ball high. Y'all's up 8-1. They blew this game open in the bottom of last inning. And if all goes as planned, they will be coming up for the final time tonight after just one more out here from Ernst. One-0. Right down the middle, strike one. Isaacson with a single, Yonamine with a double, but they have not moved beyond that second and third. With Robinson at the dish, he's 0 for 3. He came in as the hot hitter. Nothing doing tonight. 1-1. Breaking ball drops in, beautiful pitch. And it is 1-2. Robertson came into tonight on a 3-game hitting streak. That's in jeopardy right now. 1-2. Up and away. And no dice on that call again. Ernst peers in, he's set. Right at the chest. 2-2. Foul back by Robinson. The Y'alls in the 8th inning will have the top of the order coming up. Chance to do perhaps more damage. Ernst in this inning, top of the 8th, trying to work around back-to-back hits. Has 2 outs, and now he needs 1 more out to get out of it. 2-2. Pulled the string with a changeup, but it misses high, and the count is full. We've seen a really good breaking ball. We've seen that changeup now. We've seen the fastball, which has been 90-92. Now the 3-2. Back to the hard stuff. It's called strike 3. Down and away from Robinson. He couldn't pull the trigger. And that is the final out. 2 strikeouts in the 8th inning for Ernst in his Y'all's debut. We'll see if he's back out there for the 9th inning, but he pitches a scoreless 8th. And we're on to the bottom of the 8th. Y'all's up 8-1 on the Florence Y'all's Baseball Network. Cal Juraskovich stays in the game for Windy City here for the 8th inning. He came on and recorded just 1 out very quickly in the 7th. Took Windy City 3 pitchers to get out of that 7th inning. And that's the reason it is an 8-1 Y'all's lead. Trying to start this brief 3-game homestand with a bang. And trying to pick up a rare win against the Thunderbolts this year. 1-5 against Windy City coming into tonight. Brennan Price leads off against Draskovic. And first pitch, he swings and lines it to right, and a diving effort is unsuccessful for Kumalos. Gets by him to the wall. Price pulls into second with a stand-up double to begin the 8th. Kumalos did not read that ball well.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Probably a hit more often than 1 time out of 10 for Price if he hits that same ball 10 times in a row. But boy, Kumalos did not help himself. I don't think he lost that ball in the lights. I just don't think he read it well off the bat. Took a bad route to the ball, and now he's living with the consequences.
Well, it's a double for Price, and the pitch to Fuentes down and away. Well, they say the hardest ball to judge is the one right at you. And that was on a line pretty much right at Kumalos. A step to his left, but that just ate him up. 1-0. Down and in to Fuentes. Well, on Latin Heritage Night, Fuentes has lived up to it. 2 hits, including 2 runs batted in back in the 3rd. Fuentes from Caracas, Venezuela. 2-0. Pops this up, but it'll find the seats out of play. The Y'alls over the years have really prioritized Latin American players. They always rank among the leaders of teams in the Frontier League with the most Latin American players, and they have a few of them again this year. 2-1. Fouled off the catcher. That'll sting. Wait will get a little bit of time. The Y'alls today have Zaid Richardson from Puerto Rico. Brian Fuentes from Caracas, Venezuela. Tristan Garcia, who is from Louisville but has Latin American heritage. Edgar Martinez from the Dominican Republic.
Ernesto Huizar as well.
Yes. 2-2. Down and away. And Weezer placed on that 60-day IL today. Windy City also had a few guys who were represented and honored before the game. 3-2. Hard chopper down the third base line. It's foul. Windy City has an Australian on their squad, Will Riley from Lismore, Australia. Three balls and two strikes on Fuentes. Juraskovich deals. It's fouled back again by Fuentes. This is falling into that long at bat category that we've talked about all night. Full count, few foul balls. Juraskovich trying to retire him. Here it is again. And it's shot out to left on a line. Robinson glides to his left and makes the grab in the gap. Now Juraskovich wins the battle. And that brings it to Ray Zuberer. Price still at second base after the leadoff double. Zuberer tonight 0 for 3 with a walk. First pitch, swing and a miss. Good slider down and away. Now this appearance much longer than the last for Juraskovich. Only pitched a third of an inning in his last time out, 0-1. Popped up to the left out of play. Juraskovich had a long stretch this season without allowing a run from May 30th all the way until July 6th. Nobody got to him out of the pen. 0-2. Popped up again down the left field line, maybe playable. Robinson running in from left, but runs out of room. Now the bullpen meltdown tonight for Windy City has been something of a rarity, because the bullpen is a big reason why they came into tonight on a 4-game winning streak. Bullpen had been fantastic. 0-2, up and away. In the 4 wins this week, the bullpen had a .63 ERA. It was much more of an issue in the 6-game losing streak that preceded this. 1-2. Wave and a miss. Zuberer strikes out, and Juraskovich has settled in after the leadoff double.
But again, the Y'alls kind of doing what they did in Evansville, locked up in a close game for a while, then using late offense to pull ahead. 3 runs in the 10th inning of game 2, 3 runs in the 8th inning of game 3. Today, a larger 6-run inning in the 7th to really break this game open, but they've stayed gritty and put together rallies when they've had to.
Off the hands, little flare for Richardson into center. That's a base hit. Price with 2 outs running on contact. He scores, and Richardson has himself another knock, another single, and another run batted in. It is 9-1 Y'alls in the 8th inning. Third hit of the night for Zaid, and his 2nd run batted in. And now Zeisler gets another chance to hit. He has 2 hits as well. First pitch, and he shoots it out to short on 1 hop. Viola has that, and an easy flip to second for the force out to end the inning. The Y'alls tack on 1 more for good measure. Probably didn't need it, but they have it anyway. It is 9-1 going to the 9th on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. We're on to the ninth, and Brian McKenna is in to try to finish this one out for the Yalls. Not a save situation, not the usual situation that McKenna comes into with such a lopsided advantage. This is a guy that they have to get back on track. He struggled in the last homestand for Florence, allowing a couple of game-winning hits. And they try to get him back on track. Back at home now, and he'll face 8, 9, and 1 in the Windy City order. The Yalls up 9-1 in the ninth inning. First pitch fastball at 95, misses up and in, and it is 1-0. Now McKenna on the season now with a 5.27 ERA. 1-0 popped up out of play to the right against Jonathan Waite. 15th appearance for McKenna. He has 5 saves, but the last couple outings have put a damper on his line. 1-1. And the pitch is fouled off the catcher and is 1-2.
Yeah, the outing that McKenna had against Windy City on June 30th hasn't helped that ERA. He was tagged for 3 runs in an inning, gave up 2 home runs. In a game the Yalls were already probably going to lose, but that really put the exclamation point on it back in late June. Still a season high in earned runs allowed.
1-2 is outside. Well, the stuff is there. The pedigree is there. A guy that reached AAA in the Marlins system. If not for Tommy John, he likely would still be in their system. 2-2. Popped up to the right, out of play. Well, the Yalls tonight certainly look like they're on their way to a win. It would be their 4th of the week. 3rd of the week, excuse me. 2-2. Fastball called strike 3, outside corner, caught him looking. Good start to the ninth for McKenna, 1 gone. And Waite retired. He is 0 for 3 tonight. That brings in Viola. 1 for 3 night. First pitch. Breaking ball to start him off. It's called the strike at the top of the zone. Oh, 1. Lined up the middle, a base hit. Viola, one of the few guys tonight to get anything going for Windy City. Him and Martina, each with 2 hits. Yonamine as well with a couple of knocks tonight. Second of the day for Viola. And out of the 9th spot, he's had a good night. 1-out base runner in the 9th for Windy City. Back to the top of the order for Paul Kumalos. First pitch, swing and a miss. Now the win today would go to Ryan Watson. It would be his first professional win. 7 innings, allowed just 1 run, a quality start for him. How about the rookies, the back-to-back nights? Quality start for Spivey and Watson. Both looking like wins. 0-1, strike called. Taylor Sugg on the hook for the loss. They can make the argument that Justin Miller deserves it after the implosion out of the pen, but Sugg statistically is in line for it. 0-2. That's down. 1-2. Miller did his teammate no favors by coming in and allowing 4 hits, walking a couple of batters himself. Sugg certainly started that inning and set it up for failure, but Miller didn't help him. 1-2, cut and a miss. Tied him up with a slider. 2 gone in the 9th inning. And the T-Bolts down to their final out. Junior Junior Martina representing the final chance for Windy City tonight. He has driven in their only run. RBI single in the 5th inning. That is all Windy City has mustered tonight. First pitch, swing and a miss. Now tomorrow night, Windy City will send Cole Belair to the mound. He'll be opposed by Bobby Brabrand, and you want to talk about another guy that the Y'alls need to get on track. 0-1, swing and a miss. Another 95-mile-an-hour heater out of the right hand of McKenna, and Windy City down to its final strike. Viola at first, rather meaningless run. 0-2, popped up. Center field, plenty of room for Lane Hoover coming in. And he makes the catch to end the ball game. Final score tonight, the Y'alls with a big-time win. 9-1 over Windy City, fueled by that 6th run, 7th inning, in which the Y'alls batted around and scored 6 times off of 3 different Windy City pitchers. And a really good week brewing here for the Y'alls, Carter. They have a long way to go to get back in the playoff picture, but we've talked about it. All of the games down the stretch are against West Division opponents. Certainly a lot of ground to make up, but certainly a lot of chance to do so. And after the series win against Evansville, they start this series well against Windy City, a team that, to their credit, has had the Y'alls number this season.
And Windy City with 5 wins in the first 6 games against the Y'alls this year. Florence caught the Bolts at some bad times on the road in a ballpark they struggled to hit in. But now here in Thomas More Stadium, where the Y'alls have played better this season, they just put together one of their more complete-looking games of the last couple months. And like you said, an important week starting off the right way for the Y'alls, who need a very good month of August to get back in the race. They have won 3 of 4 to start it, a series win over the 3rd place Otters, now a convincing victory over Windy City. And would you believe, this is the first time the Y'alls have won 3 or more games in a row since they had a 4-win streak at the very beginning of June against New Jersey in this ballpark.
Well, the Y'alls may be brewing something right now. A few wins in a row after losing that series opener to Evansville. As Carter mentioned, they have now won 3 games in a row. And in the process, they snapped Windy City's 4-game winning streak, which ends tonight. Winning pitcher, Ryan Watson. He improves to 1-2. Taylor Sugg takes the loss. He drops to 4-5. No save tonight. Final time of the game, 2 hours, 34 minutes at Thomas More Stadium. One more time, your final score. The Y'alls win it 9-1, starting the series on a high note. Tomorrow, Cole Belair, the starting pitcher for Windy City, opposes Bobby Brabrand for a 6:36 first pitch. And we hope you can join us then back at Thomas More Stadium. For Carter Bainbridge and our entire Florence Y'alls crew, I'm Anthony Mazzini saying so long from Florence, Kentucky. It's been a presentation of Frontier League Baseball on the Florence Y'alls Baseball Network. Carter and I will talk to you tomorrow for the middle game of the 3-game series between the Y'alls and the T-Bolts here at Thomas More Stadium. Have a good rest of your Friday night.